Hey folks, it's Phoebe with Shrub Step Blooms. Today is just a little compilation of a few fall tasks, primarily making sure some peonies get in the ground, and then we have another frost warning this coming week, so I am going to go harvest some veggies and herbs and stuff that won't make it through a light frost very well, and we'll see how far I get. What we're looking at now is a hydrangea. It's called Quick Fire Fab, and this is the first year it's in the ground, so I do anticipate that it will get larger, but I didn't think I liked hydrangeas all that much, but I really like these, so I'm really glad I experimented with a few varieties, and I look forward to them getting bigger in the future. And this is kind of towards the end of one of the rows in the rose beds or garden or whatever we're calling it. That's that Cecil Bruno that started from a cutting in like February, March, and it's doing really well. And I've been really overall very pleased with how this garden is filled in this year, and it makes me really excited to think about it in the future, see where it goes, and then there will be a lot of daffodils hopefully out here next year as well. So we'll see how far we get today with our fall tasks, and then hopefully next year see how this all is filling in with roses and herbs and daffodils and all that kind of good stuff. Here's the box of peonies I'm getting planted today. So I planted one bag yesterday and didn't make it to planting the rest of them, so I planted Sarah Bernhardt yesterday, which is a pink type. Right here we have Coral Sunset, and these are each bags of 15 roots of peonies. And this one here is, oh yeah, I'm not going to say that right, Catharina Fontijn. It's a kind of creamy white pink. Look how big those roots are though, look at them, they're so lovely. And then our last one is going to be a white variety called, again, French names, not my strong suit, but Duchesse de Nemours, something like that. So again, there's 15 in each of these bags. I am planting 45 today, I planted 15 yesterday, and then I have about 15 more coming. But real quick, the rose garden, it's mid-October almost, and the rose garden is just kicking along. We haven't had our first frost yet, so there's just a lot blooming and a lot growing still. Our water has been off for about 10-12 days now, and these green patches here you can see are an invasive type of grass growing back because I have been watering that area in anticipation of all the bulbs that I have to plant. So the bulbs are going to go in lines kind of above these rows. When I planted them, I tried to space them far enough where I could fit a 1 to 2 foot row of mostly daffodils, but there will also be some fritillaria and leucogem and some other cool stuff. So that's what all the green is that grass kind of being rejuvenated. Again, the water has been off, so I haven't been watering it lately, but it was enough to really get those going. The other thing I did was kind of preemptively place emitters for the peonies because I knew the water would be off by the time, that's not an example because it's not it. I knew the water would be off by the time my bulbs or roots came in, so there's an emitter here that was running, and if we dig down, this is the one row that I actually got cardboard on, so that's fun. The soil is damp under there. I'm still going to try to come through and water everything by hand with watering can, which will be super fun. But that is just a consideration of growing here where we have a limited water supply. So once these are all in, I'll plant them, throw a handful of alfalfa pellets on them to kind of slowly break down and fertilize over time, and then eventually I'll come through and put wood chip mulch across the top of all of them. And I do take that into consideration when I plant the peonies. So peonies, you only want to plant the eyes 1 to 2 inches deep. We can take a look at what an eye is real quick here. So let's pop one of these. Actually, we don't even have to open it. So right there in the bag, you see those green to pink things are the eyes of the peony. They face up, so you point those up when you plant them, and you don't want to plant them too deep. So you want 1 to 2 inches of soil covering them because they do require light to some degree. You can see all these lovely fine hairs growing on them. I really need to get them in the ground. They showed up a couple days ago and I was really surprised. And then I went back and looked at my order form and I said, please ship them around October 7th. And they did. And they showed up. And so that was just me forgetting what I said. But those are the eyes. These are 3 to 5 eye size peonies. So it means there's 3 to 5 of these. Often there's more than that, but they do a minimum of 3. And it's kind of a mid-size. It's a really commonly available size for peonies. You can get ones that have, I think, 5 to 8, which are generally more expensive because it's a bigger root, or you can get ones that are like 1 to 3, which are very tiny. And if you buy from like Lowe's or something like that, you know, in those display cases, that's generally what they have available. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to have a ton of peonies. There's actually a massive peony farm in our region, so competition-wise, I won't be able to hold a candle to what they're going to be able to do with like their 40,000 plants. But I've also bought peony roots from them before, and they have really nice roots. But that's what we're doing today, and then the first frost is coming, so I'm hoping to get out into the main garden and do some veggie and herb harvesting. But I gotta get these in the ground first. This is the first priority, and then we'll see where we go from there. But let's just take a peek at this peace rose real quick, because it's just phenomenal, and they smell nice. There's like a little weevil or somebody in there too. But all right, let's get cracking. In total, this took about an hour and a half, and that's all condensed into about 35 seconds here. So not terribly hard, just towards the end I was counting down until I was finished because it was almost lunchtime, but that's besides the point. Ava gave up on me at some point and went and laid in the shade because it's still warm if you have a dark brown coat on all the time like she does. But they're in the ground. I still need to go back and water them, but that's one more step to get done. So there's something else I wanted to show, because I think I mentioned it previously or earlier in the year. I was not struggling, but getting frustrated because animals kept shooting through the water lines, and I thought I had solved that by putting rubber bins of water out for them. But I think this must have happened after the water turned off, and maybe one of them ran out of water, because look at that. So it's not the worst thing. Like, I'm just gonna leave it. I'll fix it next year. But it's just frustrating because then you have to buy more parts and take the time and energy to fix it. But the rubber tubs of water did work pretty well for the time that we actually had water out here. But oh well, that's life. I'd rather have critters than sterile nothingness. This, I'm pretty sure, is Darlow's Enigma, and this is one that I saw a Florette post about and decided I needed to buy it. So I'm just trying to dig for the label here. Yes, this is Darlow's Enigma. And I think, yeah, I got this one from High Country Roses. I bought a ton of roses from High Country Roses, so this is one of the varieties that's on the climbing row, which obviously is not climbing so much as slumping and crawling because there's nothing to climb yet, but one of the many projects to get done. But yeah, unfortunate chewage, but it is what it is. And they chewed right on either side of the emitter, if you can see that, so they knew what they were getting after, and it makes it pretty apparent what was going on. They're not just doing it for fun. But that's a problem for later. First up out here, I'm tagging a couple more dahlias that I wanted to save, but I also just wanted to show this one. This is, I'm pretty sure, Big Wow. Massive dinner plate dahlia style with big beautiful red petals. It's great for fall. It's doing an open center, which it has not done in the past, so we'll see what it does next year. But pretty sure I labeled this one, but I am trying to find and label a couple that I started from seed that I wanted to save to see how they do next year. I think that was one of them. Some of these little colorette ones. And then for sure this one. So it's mostly the outer color, and then it's got this tiny frill of inner petals. And I just really like the color on it too. So I'm saving those, and I think I'm gonna label this one and see what it does next year. So that's pretty cool. So I've got a handful to put save tags on. So these aren't any sort of named variety. These are all started from seed. There's a lot of bugs in there. That's cool. But I want to save a handful of them that I really liked and see what they do next year. Since we're out here poking around in the dahlias anyway, wanted to do a quick little view of what's still going. So right here we have Boom Boom White. Again, some of these turned out open face this year, which I don't know if it's just the year or the tubers or what, but I didn't expect them to be. So for example, this one, fully open center in there, and I don't think Boom Boom White is supposed to do that. So we'll see what they do next year. It might be one plant's got the open center and one plant doesn't, but we'll see what happens. And then a little further down here, we've got one that was on my wish list last year. This is Peaches and Cream, and I really like the two-tone color in the petals there. So that one's quite lovely. And then another one I kind of bought on a whim, but I'm really glad I did. This one's called MM Buttercream. Just look at the little curl to the petals there. And you'll notice that a lot of this section is all ball type because they tend to have a better vase life. So that's what we got going. And then I got to wrestle around in the base here. So I think I know who this is. Yeah, this is Diva. Let's see if we can get it into the light a little better. So that's lovely. And then through here is all the cactus types. I decided to save this peachy one. That's the only cactus type from the seed group this year that I am saving. And then down in here, we're saving this one. We're saving this one. This isn't the greatest example, but we're definitely saving that one. It had some interesting form going on earlier this year. And then my favorite is this one. And they go out pretty quickly between the wind damage and all, but they are super cute. So I'm saving that one. And then down here, we've got Wine-Eyed Jill. Is this the yellow or the... There's one that's Wine-Eyed Jill and there's Wine-Eyed Jill yellow. So I don't remember which one this one is, but that's looking nice. And then this is one that I'm saving. It was one that didn't bloom from seed last year, but so I held on to it to see what it would do. And I like it, so I'm keeping it. And we already looked at Big Wow, living up to its name. Here, if it focuses. And then back here we've got another dinner plate type called Kelvin Floodlights. That one's a little asymmetrical, but you can see, so that's a fresh one. It's still pretty yellow colored and then fading out over here. Although that might be, nope, that's a branch of somebody else. This is the one that I think might be Tapioca. And I don't know who you are. Who are you? Oh, I think that's, again, gonna have to wrestle around for a minute here. Oh, it's supposed to be Honeymoon, but I don't think that's Honeymoon. I think Honeymoon was supposed to be a blush color, so I don't know who that turned out to be. This is the only, had several Arabian Night plants. This is the only one that hasn't gone full-blown open center on me, so I'm saving that one, but none of the rest of them. And then we've got the one that I nicknamed Beloved because it's not an attractive dahlia from like a human perspective necessarily, but the bees absolutely love it. So I'm gonna keep propagating that one because of the bees. This is a little collarette one that I saved from last year, and it will be saved again this year. This was from Floret Seed a couple years ago. More of that white Beloved one. Who's this? I don't think I'm saving that one. I could pull that one out. Yeah, there's no tag on it. So if you look down here, you'll see a lot of orange tags, and this one doesn't have one, so I'm just gonna knock it out a little bit. And you'll notice down here that everything is a little wilty and sad looking because the water's been off. So this is the end of the row and it's the most exposed. And this, the bed is the shallowest down here, so I'm sure it didn't hold on to as much water as elsewhere. So the end of the rows are looking really rough here. But that just means I'll probably start drying down quicker. This is my favorite from last year that I grew from seed. It's another one from Floret Seed, and I've been calling it Sugar Fairy because it tickles my fancy. Here's a better example with the center. It looks like rock sugar to me. I don't know why that's the association I draw, but it is. So there we are. This is one I saved from seed today. think I'm on the fence about this one because I don't want to save all these open-faced ones, only if they really, you know, really are calling to me. And let's see who else is up here. Not a lot that I remember the names of. There's a lot of this variety that I saved from a mix that I bought from like Eden Brothers a couple years ago. And if they had water, they'd be great for picking right now, but they're running out of water, so that's unfortunate. Got this one. I just looked up the name earlier and I've already forgotten. Dazzling Sun. So a little bit spent, but lovely yellow. And I don't remember the name of this one. I bought this one last year and I quite like it. It's kind of a quilly cactus structure. And then, who are you? Is that Ice? No, that might be Bahama Mama. Let's rustle around real quick. Yeah. So we got Bahama Mama. And speeding through the cactus dahlias again. I think that's pretty much it. We have Golden Scepter down here, which I haven't loved that much. It's not very big, but it is super cute. I think maybe in another year I would like it, so I'm going to hang on to that one. And that's about it. So there's still some nice dahlias out here, and I just wanted to take a quick look at them again, because if we actually get that frost, they'll be toast, and then it'll be time to dig them, which I am frankly not looking forward to, but too bad, so sad, I guess. But that's it. That's what the dahlias are looking like right now. So let's take a look at these. These are my pumpkin on a stick, and they did really well. They are deceptively heavy because they're still wet, so they haven't dried out yet. The other thing is there's thorns on the stems, so that's a little bit of a thing to deal with them, but I've mostly just been taking the stems off, or the thorns off the lower part of the stems where people would be grabbing them most likely, and then left a note on there that they were thorny, so people should watch out. But they're darn cute, and I am so pleased with them. Next up is digging through this whole row to find the hot peppers and pick anything that's ripe or looks mostly ready to pick. I think all the stuff that I was trying to use as ground cover that ended up being bigger than the plants and kind of out-competing them will actually help with the frost situation, because I think they'll kind of act as mulch almost. So I'm not going to pick everything, just the stuff that I can see is already ripe, and it extends into that row. You can't see that row over there. So I will be picking through these 2 rows a little bit and see what happens in terms of pepper harvest. In retrospect, I really thought that alyssum, the white blooming stuff, was only going to get about 12 inches tall, but I think it must have been more of a sprawling type, because it was easily 18 to 24 inches long from root to top, and it just kind of keeps blooming out the top. So that's a good lesson for next year. It did do what I wanted, which was help suppress weeds and like act as ground cover. It was just a little too good at it. So that's something that I just have to keep in mind for the future. So despite all the ground cover eating the plants, we got a pretty good little haul. These are black olive peppers. I had hoped to use them in bouquets more, and I think there's still a lot of potential for that use next year. I just need to, not overcrowd stuff and let them grow to their full potential. And then these are a type of Thai chili, and they did really well. I'm going to dry these on the stems and see if I can use them maybe in dried ornaments or something. And if not, we'll just string them up, dry them, and eat them ourselves. In this bucket, we've got things that are spicy or less spicy than a jalapeno, and then the hot peppers, hotter peppers. Over there, there's a few little sweet peppers in here. Mostly there's just a jumble of oddball stuff, like a few little bell peppers and jalapenos, and that's a cherry bomb type pepper that goes over there. Poblanos, Anaheims, that kind of thing. And then the hot peppers is a whole mix of all kinds of stuff. So there's cayennes that we're drying on the plant already. This one's new to me this year, Ahi Rico, I think. I think this is actually sweeter than I'm imagining, so I think it's kind of a sweet spicy. That's the first year I grew it. These are Sugar Rush Peach, which haven't gone peachy yet, but they are still fairly good this stage. There's a kind of peachier colored one down there. It takes them forever to turn peach. Like, they get to this stage and then just sit there like that for a long time. And then we've got a few serranos rolling around in here, more Thai chilies that I just stripped the red ones off and left the rest out there, and then just a few stray of this type of Thai chili, and then some of those black pearl, or black olive rather. Black pearl is a different kind of pepper, and I do keep getting it mixed up in my head. So there's a black olive that's turning red. So they do start out purple and then turn this beautiful dark red color once they're fully mature. So definitely growing these again, because that's just a wonderful structure. Definitely growing these again. Serranos, jalapenos, cayennes we grow every year. Some of those Thai chilies we grow every year. Some of these other ones, like the Sugar Rush Peach, we weren't like in love with. I know some people really like them, and that's great, but it's not our cup of tea. I'll probably use up the rest of the seeds just for kicks, and then that'll be it. We won't do a lot more with them. But a good little haul. Most of these will probably just get dried and we'll eat them, and then those will hopefully get used in some sort of dried arrangements. Next up, we're going to wander through this weedy mess of tomatoes and other stuff, but mostly I'm looking for any tomatoes that look like they'll ripen off the plant, and I'm just going to pick them all green and see what we get. And I don't think it'll be that much, so I've just got my handy dandy little buckets over there, and we'll see what we see. Overall, not a bad little haul. I also went and looked at a couple other plants that were in a different area, because they got planted later, and then there were a couple that volunteered, and the volunteer plant had the best looking tomatoes on it, but go figure. Most of this bucket is paste tomatoes, so there's a layer of bigger tomatoes on the top and then paste tomatoes on the bottom. I found a few stray more peppers, one stray eggplant, and Commercially, I'm sure a lot of folks already know this, but commercially the tomatoes are picked when they're fairly green so that they can ship intact. And so you can do this to your advantage too in your home garden or your operation, whatever you're working with. When frost is coming, as long as they have this kind of shiny tone to them, or tint, I don't know what the right word is. As long as the skin looks kind of shiny, I've found that they'll generally ripen up. If you can tell the difference here between this one's a little bit shiny, but it's still more kind of matte, like dull looking. These, in my experience, just wither. Like, this would be a bad candidate to save anyway, right? But these just like wither and don't do well, and generally they're going to be smaller anyway, so they're not quite worth it. But this one's already ripening up. It'll probably be ripe by the end of the week on our counter, so I'll have to sort through these again and pick out the ones that are already turning color. But this isn't bad for considering how poorly the tomatoes did this year. I'm pretty happy to have this many, and it's not an overwhelming number like we've had some years. And there's some cilantro for dinner, and then I think we've got basil to go yet, and then I will have to recheck my list to see what else I'm forgetting, because I want to make pesto for sure and freeze it, which is very easy. If you haven't ever done that, I recommend it. And then you have basil pesto all through the winter. But let's get the basil, and I'm going to check my list to see what else I thought I was going to get done out here. So there's a nice bucket of basil. I don't know that it'll make that much pesto, but that's okay. We don't need a ton of it through the winter. I also grabbed a pretty big handful of parsley to kind of bulk it up with that, and I might grab some like kale too, or some other greens to kind of bulk it up and make it stretch a little bit, because I would like a good amount, but we don't need a ton. So I think I'm gonna grab a handful of kale as well to shove in this bucket for pesto, the pesto bucket. Apparently basil was the last actual thing on my list that I'd written myself, but then I wandered around and saw that I never actually got around to harvesting their garbanzos or chickpeas. So that's what they look like. That'll be interesting. Not a ton, but I also didn't plant very many. And then these are cowpeas. And again, didn't plant a ton, but I'm getting a fair few, considering the size of the patch. So gotta get those shelled out at some point, but that's a pretty good little haul for the afternoon. I'm pretty pleased with it. I am about done being out here. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.